In this episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Vikki Bruce of McLean and Bruce, and they are a top whisky tour company based here in Scotland. Now, McLean and Bruce only deal with luxury tours, so every single tour is bespoke. So I found it fascinating to speak with Vikki on how she has grown that business and how she can market a business where every single product is bespoke and nothing is set in stone. So this is an episode, if you run bespoke tours, that you do not want to miss. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to see not too many people have left.
I appreciate you coming along, and
thank you for having me.
From Dunfermline, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. Through the fog and the rain and the winds, and no, it was absolutely fine.
So you've been in the sort of whisky industry for well over 10 years, I believe. No, you worked with the Adelphi distillery prior to that.
Yeah.
So just so people will get a better understanding of yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became involved with Charles and created McLean and Bruce.
Well, originally I'm from southwest Scotland, and my parents had a farm, and farming's not the most lucrative of industries, so they diversified over the sort of 1980s, and they turned all their holiday properties, all their outbuildings into holiday properties. So I was really brought up in the hospitality industry. My mum's Irish and incredibly sort of warm and generous, and so hospitality was very much part of my childhood, really. And then I married my husband, who works for Adelphi, which is an independent bottler. And Adelphi actually used to be one of 26 distilleries in Glasgow, fed by Loch Catrin. And I believe it's now, the site of the original distillery, I believe is now the Glasgow Mosque. I'm pretty sure. Wow. So while I was having my children and raising a family, I worked part-time for Adelphi in the less glamorous end of the whisky industry. So there's no visitor centres, it's packaging, bottling, distribution. It's not glamorous at all. But I was also doing lots of whisky festivals, so I met lots of the brand ambassadors and made really good contacts, which have obviously come to fruition now, come to be very useful. And Adelphi exports whisky all over the world, and one of the markets is Monaco. So Alex was going off to do a whisky tasting in Monaco, and I thought it'd be really rude not to go with him. So I squeezed myself into that. And we knew Charlie from a long time, and he actually advises Adelphi on cask selection and tasting notes and things like that. So Charlie was going to the Cannes Film Festival with his wife. I'm sure you've all seen The Angel's Share. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's fantastic. If you haven't, you have to watch it. So Charlie plays a character called Rory McAllister, and he really does play as the whiskey expert, and he really is himself in it. So they were going to the Cannes Film Festival, and we were going to Monaco, and it was the poshest thing I've ever done. And it was great. So we all met up in Monaco, and the importer said to me, I'm organising a trip to Scotland, a whisky trip, for 12 guests next year. Would you be interested in helping me do the Scottish side of it? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great fun. So we put the trip together, and that all happened, and that was all great fun, and everybody had a great time. And Charlie said, sort of 2 o'clock in the morning, over a bottle of whiskey and a packet of fags, said, we should do this as a business. And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. So that, I think, over a bottle of whiskey is really how the business started.
Good way to start.
Yeah.
So as we know, whisky is well, it was shown in the trends there. It's becoming even more and more popular now over the last few years, and it's only getting bigger. So, but we're also seeing a lot more competition in there in terms of people doing whisky tours and tourism, etc. So how does your business sort of stay at the fore with the types of experiences you offer? How do you always sort of stay ahead of everyone else?
Well, I think for once in my life, I was incredibly lucky to be in the right place at the right time, because nobody could predict that this huge surge in whisky popularity for drinking and for investment it's one of the biggest investments that people go for now. We didn't know that was going to happen. The industry didn't know that was going to happen, and we were in the right place at the right time, and we had positioned ourselves at the luxury end of the market. So, in terms of the competition, nobody can really sort of get to where we are because nobody else has got Charlie McLean, and he is
Yeah.
the best known whiskey expert in the world. So we're kind of unique in that. In terms of competition, I think that's really healthy. I think it's fantastic. There are so many people doing distillery tours. It's all the better for Scotland, better for the whiskey industry, better for the tourism industry. So yeah, we're not concerned by that. And in the 7 years that we've been going, we've really nurtured our relationships with distilleries. We've nurtured our relationships with other Scottish suppliers, with a lot of the clientele that we have taken a long time to come to fruition, if you like, because it's about, in certain cultures, particularly in Asia, it's about nurturing a relationship before they will commit to business. So we've had a lot of sort of irons that have been in the fire for a really long time, and they that all did start to sort of reap the benefits, I suppose, a few years ago when suddenly this huge upsurge in the popularity of whiskey all, sort of burst to life, if you like. And it's great, it's very exciting. A lot of the distilleries have doubled their production and built new visitor centres. And as part of that, a lot of distilleries have built private client and VIP sections, because that's where there's a very interesting growth in the market. It's not, I mean, there's obviously a huge number of mid to high end tours and offerings on the market, but the number of private clients coming from overseas for investment purposes, and that's bottles and casks, and for the VIP experience, that's just continuing to grow, and nobody can, well, Joshua, nobody really knows what's going to happen. Really love to know if that's okay. Chat afterwards.
I can imagine Japan's going to be a big industry for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the markets are it's very interesting, and I'm not a sort of whiskey expert, but obviously I pick up a lot of second-hand knowledge, and Germany, we've got quite a lot of Germans. Germany's a really strong market, and then for the investment, it's our clients are mainly from China, mainland China, so, and Hong Kong. So that's where we're now. Again, learning from a trend that we couldn't predict. Maybe we've got too many eggs in that particular basket, and we need to look at sort of North America a little bit more. We do have clients from North, South America and Canada and India and Russia and other places, but our market is predominantly China, and that, the coronavirus has taught us a bit of a lesson, I think, like probably a lot of companies.
Yeah, it's affecting everyone.
Yeah.
So in terms of what you guys produce, obviously you mentioned it's more for the luxury market. So what's your process for sort of creating the unique experiences that you have? What's the sort of things you look for when you're trying to create these experiences?
Most of our guests, we have a lot of suppliers that we work with regularly, and they are the high-end accommodation providers, particularly exclusive use. Transport, we've used everything from sort of Phantoms to Nicholas's Tesla, and not bicycles, but kind of everything in between. Private jets we use quite a lot. So those are the backbone elements of putting a trip together, and then obviously the client will come to us and they're looking for this distillery or that distillery. They want air, they want water, they want scenery, they want castles, gardens, whatever they want. So we put the basic outline together for them, and then the kind of the unique experiences, which is, they're kind of cliched words, but it's sort of the one of the most important parts of what we do in this business really is to try and do things which people couldn't arrange themselves. They couldn't find it on Google. They couldn't get it from another company. And that's a really important part of what we do. It's so important that actually there's a secondary part to the business which has grown completely organically, which is our suppliers come to us and become our clients, which is a really interesting thing which we never anticipated. We didn't plan this to happen. So a great example would be Broomhall House, which is the Bruce family house. So we take our clients there, and then they come to us and they say, we've got clients coming, can you do a whiskey tasting or what else can you do? And we work with all manner of strange people, and we've got a penny farthing expert, for an example. It's like, do you want to do a penny farthing experience? And people are like, no. But one day, somebody is going to say yes, and that'll be a happy day.
I would be up for that.
I know, so would I. So would I. Like, this is going to work. But so we're always trying to. We've been in Scotland for our whole lives, and we've got amazing friends and relatives, and particularly the Bruces have been in the country for 1,000 years. So they're related to everybody. And so we call on those. So we've done some really beautiful, which are very, very humble experiences. One of which was, one of the first ones we did was for a client from China. And she wanted to go scallop diving. And she was a really beautiful lady. And I was like, it's not really the Seychelles. And so instead of going scallop diving, we took her out on a boat on the Sound of Sleat. And the guy who owned the boat had dredged for scallops the day before, so he had beautiful fresh scallops. He had chablis hanging over the side of the boat, so nice and chilled. And then he had a little barbecue, and he had some garlic butter he'd made, and fried the scallops. And there was beautiful sunshine in between the mainland and the Isle of Skye. It was all lovely, and everybody was happy. And then he started to play the guitar, and it was like, just doesn't get any more nauseatingly fantastic than this. And that experience kind of sums it up, because it's not about the money, and it's not about bling, it's about Scotland and friendships and who you know, really crucially who you know, and using those contacts to bring something new to the guests, because the guests, they don't want to do the same old thing that everybody else is doing. The Greyfriars Kirkyard that it's all muddy. They want to see these things, but they also want to see off the beaten track. They want another terrible buzzword, authentic experiences. But it's, everybody says authenticity, it's really important, because it really is. That's what people want. That's what they're dying to see. And, we're also in this kind of Renaissance period of the sort of the Downton Abbey coming back to haunt us again. All people from overseas, particularly America and China, love Downton Abbey, and that's what they want to see. They want to see people in their houses doing their thing. So we can do that. It's fine.
So it's purely bespoke that you're doing for people?
It's 100% bespoke. Every inquiry is completely unique, because every client is completely unique. We've never been able to. One of my business partners quite often says, "Why don't you just reuse itineraries you've already made?" And we have never reused one. We've never been able to reuse an itinerary. So, because they want something different.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So they're very labour intensive. What we do with our clients.
Ideas,
Yeah.
Well, actually, part of what you said there leads beautifully into my next question, in terms of, you're famous for hosting royal guests, and I know from a marketing point of view, you can't exactly target royals on Facebook ads and things like that. So was all that through word of mouth and through connections and things like that? So,
well, so the story that I first told you about, going to Monaco to do the whiskey tasting, and then arranging the tour for that group. That group was His Serene Highness Prince Albert of Monaco and his wife. So that was interesting, to say the least. And looking back on it now with the benefit of hindsight, I was so naive, so incredibly naive, to just think, it'll be fine. Because the minute we started that process, we had the local, regional, national and international police, special branch and the palace protection officers all over it. So it was and then there's, obviously the logistics that come with any group, and then the pressure of dealing with a sort of very, very VIP group with their discretionary privacy requirements. It was a very, but that was the bar that was set. That was, let's do this for other, maybe not royals, but let's do it for other high net worths, ultra high net worths, and that's that was the starting point. But we didn't find them on Facebook. Well, I'm sure they're on Facebook if you look. I know one royal that's on Facebook, and we work with royals in terms of offering that as an experience to our guests, rather than the royals being our guests. We work with one HRH who will come and sort of have tea with guests, or dinner or whatever, and that's pretty mind blowing for a lot of people. She's actually the cousin of the Queen and Prince Philip.
Well, I suppose that's very much in the way in Japan when you go to see a geisha and a real
Yeah.
it's a similar sort of experience.
It is. I mean, for people to actually sort of meet Her Royal Highness Princess is quite a big deal.
Yeah, can imagine.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so in terms of your sort of marketing channels that you use just now, what's been the most effective for you, or has it mostly been word of mouth and through contacts, or do you actually do sort of any sort of online marketing? Or anything like that?
It's all been word of mouth. Partly that's how we really wanted it to work, but also for another very good reason, and that is that when we set up the business, and it was really me because Charlie's off doing his whiskey and travels a huge amount. I had a fairly fundamental understanding of the whiskey industry and a great affection for the hospitality industry, but in the middle there's business, and I'm very good at filling bottles of whiskey and changing nappies and all that kind of stuff, but didn't really have any understanding of how to even make a spreadsheet. So there was quite a steep learning curve. And once the company started to sort of bring in money, the priorities were really to get an accountant first, because that's absolutely the thing that I needed the most help with. And marketing's always been quite sort of low on my list of priorities, and I know that's not right, but it's just the way it's been. There have been other higher priority requirements for the business, and then the word of mouth thing just sort of I wouldn't say snowballed, but very slowly sort of builds up and builds up and builds up to the point where we've never quite got to the point where we think, right, what should we do next? Let's do some marketing because we need to bring in more business.
That's a good position to be in.
It's a really good position, and it's probably one of the challenges of a small business is that growth between fulfilling the requirements of the business with the demands of the business. That's a really difficult balance for a small business, and one that we're still sort of getting. Where we don't turn much business away. We don't say no to very many inquiries because they're all word of mouth, so they're all the right inquiries. But so it's a really fine line to be walking.
Excellent. No, I like that. So before I move over to the questions on the floor, my last question would be, what's the sort of future for McLean and Bruce? What do you see happening over the next year, 2 years, 3 years? What do you think is going to be the future?
I think the business model, we decided very early days we were never going to be a scale business. We were never going to look for volume. We're always going to be quality over quantity. So I don't think we'll ever scale up significantly. But what we really will do is continue to consolidate our position at the luxury end of the whiskey tourism market, which is very niche, and we're already probably the only, if not the main people doing that. I don't really know many other people who are doing exactly what we do. I think from a personal point of view, something that somebody said to me a while ago really scared me, and was that, but you are the business. And I was like, oh shit. If I am the business, then what's the future of the business? How do you sell or retire or do any sort of extracting yourself? So actually, everything we do in terms of looking to the future, we do with a view to me being able to take a step back from the business, because it started on the back of a fag packet, and for a long time that fag packet was in my back pocket, and now we've come a long way since then. But we've got to look to the sort of sustainability of the business as an independent entity and not as an extension of me.
Yeah.
So I think we're also just going to allow the business to develop organically. So for example, what I was saying about our suppliers then becoming clients, that's a really good example of something that we didn't go out looking for. It just evolved. And I think we'll just allow it to sort of continue to evolve and see where it takes us, really. Yeah, I think.
Keep a little bit of mystery there.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really know. So, no, but we do sort of know, but not really.
Does anyone have any questions for Vikki? Oh, yep. George, you got one?
What's the most sort of requested bespoke experience?
The diving for scallops was quite a good one. That was quite a good one. And actually, what I didn't tell this lady, because she was very, 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 very perfect, and I thought it would just be disaster, is that, and this is an example of if you live in a country for a long time, you get to know its kind of quirks and things, is that I do know, on the west coast of Scotland, I do know a pier where they bring the scallops in and they sit and they go, no, no, no. And it's at the end of the pier, and it's about 40 feet deep of crystal clear water. An awful lot of scallops. So I don't know, that was it. She also wanted to, same lady, she wanted to ride bareback, gallop a horse down St Andrews Beach. And she'd never ridden before, so that was managed to persuade her that we didn't have time for that. So I can't think what else we get asked to do that's particularly weird and wonderful. How rude am I allowed to be?
No, you'd be as rude as you
Oh,
like.
right, brilliant, okay. So, I learned my very first booking was actually 10 golfers from South Korea. And they had a round of golf, and they said, oh, any chance of a massage? And I was like, well, sure, we can arrange a massage. And that's sort of phoning people in Edinburgh, sort of, therapy people. And then their driver phoned me, he was like, stop. They want a massage with a happy ending. I was like, oh, I've never heard of such a thing before. So that was quite a weird one as well.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
I need another question. We follow that one up, can we? Any further questions? Oh, you're all shy today. No? Oh, Jessica's going.
So very topical at the moment. You'd kind of hinted on it there with the coronavirus making some changes to your business. From where you're currently sitting, which is, I'm sure, a little bit ambiguous, what steps or what things has it kind of taught you, or where are you going to go next with your steps to try and mitigate these types of scenarios in the future?
It is a really good question. I think we're very, first of all, we're very fortunate with the coronavirus with our clients because they have postponed and not cancelled. So I think probably a lot of people have got that to deal with. And actually today we had one of them come back and say, we want to give you a deposit to come back at the end of April. So it's been slightly annoying because it's pushed all of our bookings forward. So we're going to have a bit of a crush going on in June and July. And actually, we like to spread out because we take great care of our clients. We like to spread them out and not have lots of people here at any one time. So it's going to cause a bit of congestion for us in peak season. Anyway, and I think we really need to look at other markets, and one of our sort of routes to market is through an organisation who've got, it's a bit like the Travel Massives actually, it's got sort of branches all over the world, and to kind of maybe go out and see them and speak to them, and maybe take Charlie out and do a whiskey tasting, and actually to go to North America and Canada and show face. We probably would never do well, I wouldn't say never, we probably won't go down the big travel show route. We're doing Expo for the first time this year, so it'll be interesting to see what that throws up, and I'm sure that will give us new connections in new markets. So yeah, I think the whole kind of keep not putting all your eggs in one basket is really what springs to mind, and I think North America's being married into the Bruce family, North America's a really natural thing, because we've got Robert the Bruce's sword at home, so people quite like that.
Oh, wow.
Well, I don't, but it's parents not do.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Thank you
It's an
so much
absolute
for
pleasure.
having me. It's very nice to
No,
be
thank
here.
you. Can everyone please give a massive thank you?
Thank you.